Come, WITWICKEY.
How do you know how to speak English?
One sec.
Sup guys, and in this video, we're gonna be doing things a little bit different. This time we're gonna check out one of the old Constructicons from the Studio series. Starting off with the one that started it all. This is the Transformers Studio Series Voyager Class 37 Revenge of the Fallen Rampage. Now, surprise surprise, this figure's wavemate was none other than the 38 Optimus. Because of course, this guy's 37, this guy's 38. Honestly, it would have been interesting to see a stop motion of these two 1v1ing each other. Anyways, the original figure of this guy happened to be a deluxe class mainline figure, which was a little inaccurate, and the leggings were a little weird. Well anyways, glad that Hasbro decided to come around like 10 years later and make a new refreshed figure of Rampage. After all, this does look far superior to the original, and it's meant to. Painting and sculpting on this guy? Pretty good. I do like how much mechanical detail was added onto this figure, especially in his worm leg. The head sculpt is nice as well. They did a really good job. But then you turn to the back and it's pretty much Kibbletopia right around here. As you can see, the designers decided to do nothing with the backpack right here. Perhaps they could have had the bulldozer split into a couple of pieces like it did in the movie. After all, that did look kind of cool. Especially the noises he made when he transformed. After all, that did look kind of cool. And then flew in the air and gave the whole WITWICKEY family quite a scare. Until Bumblebee came in and took him out. Speaking of that scene, you can actually hear Rampage say Sam's name. Don't believe me? Take a look.
What?
Most likely that's the only thing he knows in English. I mean, it's not like he had any time to stick around to learn more of the English, cause later on, he got killed off by Bumblebee. And rather than trying to shoot down his parents, he actually intimidated Sam that if he didn't give the Matrix to him, he would have killed his family. So he kept on smacking these, and I guess he kept on smacking them closer and closer to his family to intimidate Sam. Which is pretty brilliant for a Decepticon, and it would have worked had Bumblebee not come in and saved the day. Also, one thing I find weird was how when Bumblebee pulled off his arms, and then when he hit the ground, his head started falling apart, which didn't really make any sense. Apparently, Constructicons can't really handle getting slammed on the head to the ground, because then their whole face starts falling off. That was seen with Devastator as well. Boy, did that guy's head fly. Also, I do happen to have quality issues with this guy, because I did get it loose, and at least it was complete, it just didn't come with the box. And I guess over time with this item was, I guess his shoulder started getting a little loose. Also, this is supposed to be sticking out, but perhaps if you had this guy laying on the ground, and then of course this was, doing that, then yeah. Not sure what this is used for. Maybe for it to just move up and down. That's fine. I believe these parts over here are just kibble, but I guess they make him look a little cooler. Anyways, let's talk about his accessories. So, he does in fact come with these little guns that go right on his hand right there. There's a port right there, and there is a tab right there. It's also worth mentioning that you have to get the right gun, otherwise the tabs won't necessarily tab in together. For example, you see this curve right here? If you had the one that's facing on the left rather than the right, then it's going to look more like this. As you can see, the tab right there doesn't connect it to that slot because this isn't the right gun. Whereas the gun with the little curve that's facing the right tabs in properly. And I believe the side curves on the guns are used to indicate which guns go on which hands, as the curve reflects more to the left, which of course this is the left arm, and for the right gun, of course it goes on the right arm, because the gun of course has the right curve. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Now, before I ever got this figure, I was worried that this figure wasn't going to come with any guns, but hey, I'm glad it does. Now, the arm would have to be more straight, because if it was facing down, or at least the thumb was facing down, this would have made the whole part of the gun a little bit lopsided. So of course it'd have to look more something like this. And I guess the finger claws could be used as a sort of bayonet. And if you want, the whips can be used as an accessory to smack Bumblebee. Still wish they were a little bit bigger though. And then the last accessory that he comes with is this stand that's used to have him stand on at least one leg. Yes, he does look weird with the stand. However, that's the best thing to use without him being all wobbly. The stand has a little peg that plugs into the port. And the stand has one leg that folds in, but that's used for transformation. And for weapon storage, I can't really think anything else other than, of course, this port right here, where they just plug in. But that's primarily used for alternate mode. But it could also be used for robot mode. Anyways, with that being said, let's talk about his articulation. Now, this figure's articulation is a little weird, as this figure does not come with an elbow joint, which kind of limits his arm articulation. Anyway, starting off, there's a hinge over here, which serves as his whole neck. The head is on a double hinge side to side, because there's also a ball joint right there, and a hinge joint. Since there's a ball joint at the head, it allows him to move from side to side, from left to right, and up and down. And can also serve as a swivel, of course. And it's easy to pop his head off. Butterfly joint, full rotation at the arm, bend at the shoulder. You might want to move this out, which will allow the... Actually, don't move that out, otherwise it's going to hit this other one right here. Leave it there and pray it doesn't affect the shoulder joint. Anyways, moving on, bicep swivel. This annoying thing tends to move up and down. I guess you could kind of use this as a... No, not really. That just looks abysmal. Hinge joint, and a hinge joint. At the whip, hinge joint, at the finger. Same thing with this one right here. And then there's just a hinge joint for the thumb right here. Unless you count that in, but that just looks weird. For waist swivel, he has a ratchet joint, which is very loud. Ab crunch, another ab crunch. And lastly, this could be used as a hinge joint. You gotta be careful, as you might fold that in unintentionally. And I believe that's pretty much it for articulation. Now moving on to size comparison. Starting off, we have Sam Witwicky, Bumblebee, Soundwave, this splitsy Decepticon, that being sideways. Man, I wish I got him half off. Starscream, Megatron, Grinder. Unfortunately, I lost Rampage, but lastly, here's a comparison between him and the Fallen. And now with the size comparison out of the way, let's get down to his transformation. What you're going to do is remove the stand, fold in the lower part of his leg, and now let's convert his arm into the treads. So what you're going to do is fold this in. Notice there is in fact a tab right there, which will plug in. Now let's swing around to this section right here. This finger will fold in to the back and close in like so. Tab in. What you're going to want to do next is move this and leave it right there. Close in the thumb and then move that part of the thumb downwards and it'll just lay down right there. Next, what you're going to do is flip the figure, move this around, close that in, make sure that rotates like so, and then you might as well go ahead and close that in. Same process applies with the other side. What you're going to want to do next is open these side panels outwards. Make sure the finger is moved all the way outwards or properly orientated, because there is a tab right there that will peg into that tab. Or, sorry, this port that will peg into that tab. I keep on getting the two mixed. Anyways, once you have the other finger properly orientated, move this whole section downwards. You could actually move the arms out like so to create more space for this to move all the way down. Next, what you're going to want to do is make sure that is tabbed in. Take some time to have it properly closed into each other. Make sure the same thing goes for the other side. And now it's time to close in these treads, but what I recommend you do first is you fold this in, put it right there, and then close in the treads. And then lastly, what you're going to do is move this down, which will move this little wheel downwards. Anyways, here we have the bulldozer, which you can obviously tell is quite inaccurate in some places, especially since there's a gap right there. That's definitely going to leave a mark. But hey, at least the designers tried their best. They even added a little horn right there, and I forgot what this is. And of course, there is the cockpit? I think that's a term used for planes. Also, the treads look pretty cool. And you may be asking, couldn't you just fold them in? No, that wouldn't work, as the fingers would be right there. And would, of course, block the thumb from folding in. And for weapon storage, the guns or the smokestacks plug in right onto there. Same thing with the other one. And there we go, the vehicle looks more complete. minus the gappage right there. Anyways, did you know that this figure had a second alternate mode? Yep, this figure's a triple changer and a combiner. A piece to a combiner. However, I think there aren't as many steps to the second alt mode as there is to the first alt mode. Anyways, what you're going to do is you're going to untab this, leave that right there, untab that. Almost forgot to mention, if you do in fact have this right there, be sure to remove it. Then you could just move the arm outwards. What will happen next is you're going to untab the other side, and then you just leave until you got like so, and then you just move this out and leave it there. And I think you could leave the head like there, maybe, or leave it right there. I don't know, perhaps this side. Anyways, here's where the arm transformation gets a little interesting. What's going to happen first is you're just going to leave that downwards, untab this, and also have it move downwards like so. Untab this, and then what you're going to do is rotate the whole thing. Move that down, and then make sure you untab this, and then move that outwards like so. And then you rotate the whole section inwards. And then what you're going to do is put this section where it was before and leave that folded in like so. And then what you're going to do is just have this finger rest upon the thumb. And then you could go back to folding this whole section in. Actually, I think you might want to have this right there, because I think it's supposed to have this like that. Once you have the other side transformed, what you're going to do next is you're going to conjoin the two arms, make sure they plug in like so, make sure everything's closed into the side right here, and then what you're going to do next, you're going to come back to this, plug it in onto those two tabs, and then you can go back to closing in the treads like so, make sure the other side is plugged in as well, and there you have the foot of Devastator. Now, it may not be as accurate as it is in the movie, but it works in its own way. And I think the toy does a good job with the treads, that being the toes for his feet, and it's totally fine that this is here. It serves as the heel, of course. If you want, you could push this down so that way you could have this in a rolling form. As you can see, there is a tab right here, which plugs on to another Constructicon that will be mentioned later on. Now, how this set of reviews are going to play out with the Constructicons is that I'm going to start with the Constructicon that came out first, and then work my way up to the Constructicon that came last, and then after that, I guess I could do a whole assembly video with Devastator, which, honestly, I feel like should have been something I should have been doing before I got like 1,000 subscribers. Maybe around 2020, because that's when Devastator really got popular in the studio series. That's when the box set Devastator came around. Now, it's sold out, and it's worth a lot of money now. But I do hear it might get re-released. I'm not sure how that's going to play out, as the boxes for the studio series were still their original size boxes back in 2020. It's only up until 2022 they changed the whole thing. And since the box set Devastator was released before inflation started to pop up, a re-release of the box set Devastator would probably go from $270 to maybe $300, which is a lot. That price is beyond Titan class. Now, for those of you asking, no, I won't be doing a review on Skipjack, but I will be using Skipjack as the foot rather than Rampage. Although Rampage is designed to turn into the foot for Devastator, Skipjack is more accurate, as Devastator's foot with the treads was always yellow, not red. I found it better to do a review of Rampage now, and then show Skipjack during the Devastator review. And I believe at one point, Rampage was worth a lot of money during 2020. That was until Skipjack started popping up, and then it was easier to get him, so then I guess all the scalpers on eBay had to lower the price, otherwise they weren't going to sell this guy. I guess he went from 60 to 70 to 20 to 30, which of course was a steal for completionists like me. Also, there are other third-party or fourth-party companies that do make their own versions of Devastator. There's one that made a third-party-ish type of Devastator, where all the figures that were made to combine into the Titan, they all had a whole bunch of complex transformations. And they did, in fact, come with more accessories to make things a little bit more accurate. But there was, in fact, a third-party company called Mechanical Alliance that did their own Devastator, which was more of upscaled and improved versions of the Studio Series Constructicons. Will I ever obtain those figures to do a review on them? I don't know. Time will tell. But for now, I'm going to be focusing on the original Hasbro figures. Anyways, I think that's it. I think that's pretty much all I had to say for this guy. Overall, he's pretty cool. If you do, in fact, want to get him to complete the whole Devastator Constructicons Studio Series thing, I recommend you look on eBay, because on Amazon, I wouldn't have doubted if this figure's price was astronomical. But if you have to choose between Rampage and Skipjack, I recommend Skipjack. That is if you're trying to aim for all of the Decepticons that are used to turn into Devastator. Since Skipjack is yellow, he would be more accurate. But if you do in fact also want to get Rampage, then yeah, I recommend eBay. I found this guy for about around $30, but that was last year. I don't know the price of this guy now, but I'm not sure much has changed. After all, Skipjack was a pretty bad peg warmer. And I believe Skipjack is still at a decent price. I don't know, I'm still gonna have to check that out. But to complete the whole Devastator set, Skipjack, and if you want both Skipjack and Rampage, then yeah, get both. Anyways, if you like what you saw in this video, be sure to slam that like button, be sure to share this with your friends, turn on post notifications so that way you don't miss another video, and most importantly, be sure to hit that big red button so we could pass 1,000, or not 1,000, I already did that last year, 5,000 subscribers before next year. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. See ya!